Hello everybody, welcome to the I Am IT Geek YouTube channel. My name is Shabazz Dad, I am the IT Geek. So it's been a few weeks since my last video. I obviously finished the Identity and Access Management series in Azure a few weeks ago, and I've not posted a video since. For those who follow me on social media, you'll be aware that myself and my wife ended up getting COVID, unfortunately, the week after each other. So I got my bout of COVID. I was on my last day of isolation, and unfortunately my wife got a positive test as well. So we had to isolate for another 10 days. So there's 20 days in total. As you can imagine, it was just a couple of difficult weeks. But thanks to God, we're both fine now. Isolation's finished. We've both had very mild symptoms. So we're all fighting fit. And yeah, so I just wanted to get started with the what is really the first new series of 2021. And I'm doing a bit of a different take on my videos this year. Last year was very much me getting starting to get into the whole YouTube world and video content, and I was doing a lot of videos and topics which I was very comfortable with. I had a lot of experience with, and they were all kind of Microsoft cloud based. And the different take that I want to do this year is I want to do integration with other vendors with Microsoft Cloud. And the first part of that is going to be Veeam, which for those who don't know is a backup and replication software. They're a backup replication vendor. So the first video, so this is obviously series 3 of the Microsoft Cloud and Veeam integration. I just want to give you a bit of an insight into what you can expect in the coming few weeks. So there'll be obviously a video every week. Apart from this week where I'm going to do 2 videos, a special bonus, but one of the videos isn't related to this series, but you'll hear more about that later. So this is the first episode, which is just going to be a Microsoft Cloud and Veeam overview. So it's going to be very high level, going to some information around what products they can back up and do replication on, and how the integration works. Episode 2 is going to be around backup and recovery for Microsoft 365 with Veeam. So that's the SaaS area of Microsoft Cloud, so Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, Teams, OneDrive. And what I'll be doing is, again, showing an overview, explaining how it works, and also going into a bit of a demo of configuring Veeam for Microsoft 365, so that should be interesting. In episode 3, it'll be a similar backup and recovery, but for Azure VMs with Veeam. So that'll be the infrastructure as a service side. So again, very similar. I'll be doing a bit of an overview, going into some detail about how the actual product works, and then doing a demo of Veeam for Azure, and again showing how to configure it and how the backup and the restoration process works. So episode 5, I'll be going into some information around backup and recovery for Azure files with Veeam. So that's more storage related. And again, it'll follow a similar format to my other videos that you'll see, where I do an overview of the topic, go into some information around how it works, and then do a little demo at the end to show how it's configured and how the restoration and backup process works. And finally, I'm going to finish off the series with BCP into Azure using Veeam. So obviously Veeam, the flagship, I suppose, service for Veeam is Veeam Backup and Replication. So a lot of the topics here are all to do with backup, but the replication comes with like the sort of BCP area. So that's going to be a really interesting video, and I'm going to go into quite a bit more detail around the services that Veeam offer around business continuity with Azure, and then again try and do some demo type activities towards the end of the video to show that. So what you don't see in the list, and this is something I'm going to try and introduce to all my YouTube content series, is that each topic, so for example this month or this series is Veeam. Each topic is going to have an episode where I have a special guest, and that guest is going to be a specialist around that specific topic. So as I said, this series is around Microsoft Cloud and Veeam integration. So my guest, who is going to be an expert around that, he's going to be working for Veeam, I'm not going to give away quite who it is yet, but you will hopefully find out in the next few weeks. So there'll be a extra video, a special video with, it's going to be more of a podcast style video where I'll be interviewing somebody around Microsoft Cloud and Veeam integration. So that's really exciting. The specific person that I've got lined up for that kind of podcast is a massive name within Veeam and has been for many, many years. So I'm really looking forward to that element of it. And again, this is going to be a regular occurrence every month. There'll be a special podcast style interview with someone specific around that topic. So, at some point there will be a NetApp and Microsoft Cloud integration series. I'm hoping to do a VMware integration series with Microsoft Cloud and so on. So that's just what you can expect from my video content this year. This is obviously the Veeam specific one. So without further ado, let's get into the Microsoft Cloud and Veeam overview. So start off with a bit of an overview of Microsoft Cloud and how it integrates with Veeam. So you've got Office 365 backup. So Microsoft 365 provides a powerful service within Office 365, but a comprehensive backup of your Office 365 resources and data is not one of them. So that's where Veeam backup for Microsoft Office 365 comes in, and it eliminates the risk of losing access and control over your Office 365 resources and data, including Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business, and Microsoft Teams, so that your data is always protected and accessible. I'll go into much more detail in episode 2 around the specific SaaS backup services and how to configure those in the demo as well. So you've also got backup for Azure Infrastructure as a Service. So Veeam backup for Microsoft Azure, which I mentioned earlier, gives backup and recovery for Azure VMs to cost effectively and securely protect your cloud applications and data. You can easily overcome any cloud data loss scenario, no matter what the cause really. It's fast and flexible recovery, and it can be done in minutes. And again, as I made you aware, episode 3 will go into more detail and a demo around Azure Infrastructure as a Service backing up with Veeam, some of the features of it and some of the costings around it as well. Utilizing Azure Blob Storage. So the Veeam Cloud tier provides unlimited capacity for long-term data retention with the native integration for Microsoft Azure Blob Storage. And it helps you leverage the lower cost, simple and elasticity of object storage. Finally, you can have restore to Azure. So that's for your sort of BCP area that we mentioned before. So Veeam Direct Restore to Microsoft Azure enables customers to quickly onboard existing on-premises workloads to Azure or restore some of your infrastructure as a service workloads into the Azure stack. And that is an area that we're going to be looking at in one of the final episodes, I think episode 5, around the whole BCP area of Veeam and its integration with Microsoft Azure. So for those of you that have watched some of my other videos, you'll probably remember that I do love a diagram. So this is just a graphical overview of the many services that Veeam offers within Microsoft Cloud and the different workloads that you can look to back up. Again, this is very high level and some of these will be covered in much more detail as we get deeper into the series. So what we have on-premises hypervisors, which can be VMware or VMware ESXi or Hyper-V. And we also have a scale-out backup repository, which I'll explain more about further around in future videos. These resources are hosted on premises or in a data center, and they're integrated with Azure virtual machines and blob storage, which are stored in Microsoft Cloud. Again, this is something that we're going to go into much more detail with further on in the videos. Again, I'm going to show how to configure these areas and these backup jobs. So what we have on premises or at your data center is a Windows server with Veeam for Office 365 backup installed on it. This has its own Veeam backup repository, and this extends out to backup Microsoft 365. And again, that's going to be the next episode, which I show how to configure all this and in more detail around that. If we stay here in the Microsoft Cloud area, we have Veeam agents, which are installed on different virtual machine workloads, Windows or Linux, for example, and they are backup. They are to backup repository stored in Azure Cloud. So that's a specific repository, similar to the repositories we have here on premises, but this is more specific to Azure Microsoft Cloud. So we then have remote office workloads, where again you might have some sort of hypervisor, but not necessarily the other on-premises resources to accommodate the storage needs to host your backup repositories. So this is where you can utilize the Azure Marketplace and host those resources in Microsoft Cloud. So you can host Veeam Backup for Veeam Cloud Connect, Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365, Veeam Backup and Recovery Console on a Windows server, Veeam Service Provider Console. So this is a service which is offered free to current Veeam Cloud and service provider partners. You've got Veeam PN, and you've got Veeam for Azure, which is just again these are some of the services that you can get from the Azure Marketplace, which support your remote offices. So just want to quickly finish off by giving some Veeam use cases in the cloud. So we have offsite backup. So Veeam recognizes the importance of the 3-2-1 rule to maintain at least 3 copies of data stored on at least 2 different types of storage media, with 1 copy offsite and in the cloud. With Veeam Cloud Connect, you can automatically connect your on-premises backups to an Azure Cloud repository. So we've got the offsite backup use case there. Long-term data retention. So the Veeam Cloud tier reduces long-term data retention costs by combining on-premises storage with native object storage, and does that by uniting on-premises storage with your Microsoft Azure Blob storage. So customers can implement data tiering policies that quickly and securely transition data to the cloud as it ages. So essentially you have your sort of your older backups that maybe more colder storage requirements up into Azure, where you've got your cheaper storage, and then you leave your kind of more recent backups on premises, so more kind of hot storage, which maybe access more doing restores and whatnot. So that's kind of long-term data retention use case. And then we've got seeding large Veeam backups in Azure. So being able to securely move petabytes of existing Veeam backup data to Azure with an Azure data box. It only takes a few steps to prepare an Azure data box for seeding to Azure Blob Storage with Veeam backup and replication. So it's again it's really good in that use case. So rehosting workloads in Azure, we mentioned BCP earlier, and we are going to discuss it in a lot more detail in a future video. But secure portability, testing and recovery of on-premises workloads into the Microsoft public cloud is among some of the key challenges us as IT professionals face today. So the Veeam Cloud Mobility, which encompasses Veeam Direct Restore to Microsoft Azure and as the Azure Stack, and Veeam Powered Network, or Veeam PN as I mentioned earlier, it enables IT professionals to maintain that BCP, that business continuity, by easily migrating and recovering those workloads into Azure. It's the #1 backup and recovery for Microsoft 365. My own personal experience with Veeam in cloud started with Microsoft 365. So Microsoft 365, it eliminates the need to host your own email, your own files, content management infrastructure. However, it doesn't replace the need to have a backup for your business critical data. I guess it's a bit of a cliche now, but the amount of businesses that think that because you're hosted in public cloud like Microsoft and AWS, they think that your data is backed up, and as we know, it's not. You have a certain amount of retention for maybe 1 or 2 weeks, also in some cases even 30 days, but it doesn't class as a backup. To meet your own business policies, a lot of the time your insurance policies and stuff like that, you need to have a secure backup. With Office 365, it's your data you control, and it's your responsibility to protect it with the choice of backup repositories in Microsoft Azure or on premises, and Veeam for Microsoft 365 gives that, and that'll be episode 2 that we can look forward to. Finally, final use case I just wanted to pinpoint was the backup of the Azure native workload, so the infrastructure as a service. So Veeam Backup for Microsoft Azure delivers enterprise-ready Azure backup and recovery in a cost-effective and secure manner to protect your cloud data and easily overcome any sort of cloud data loss. So again, it's another popular use case that I've seen with businesses using Veeam within Microsoft Cloud. And that brings to an end this episode, the first episode within the Microsoft Cloud and Veeam integration series. Very short and sweet. It was just a bit of an overview as to what I'm going to be discussing in future episodes. Also a bit of an overview of the topic, which is obviously Veeam integration with Microsoft Cloud and some of its features. As I showed you that diagram, I love a diagram. I just find that I find anyway, it explains it better to me. I find it easy to explain things as well in a diagram, so I'm hoping that's the case for you guys to understand it. So as I said, I will be doing a second video, but this second video that I'm going to be doing is around a blog that I published a few weeks ago now. God, it feels like forever. A few weeks ago, around setting up passwordless authentication with Azure MFA. So I suppose it could be in addition to the MFA series that I did later last year. But that's going to be a second video this week. But then the second episode of the Veeam series will be the following week. So again, thank you very much for watching. Again, as normal, if you have any questions, drop me a comment on the video. There's my Twitter that you can give me a buzz on if you want to ask me something directly, DM me. And please, like my video, and if you haven't already subscribe, and recommend my videos. If you like them, recommend them to someone who you might think they benefit. So until next time, thank you and goodbye.